So in this video, I'm going to be talking about C clauses in the French language. So just a little bit of an overview. We're going to start off by talking about what C clauses actually are, and then we're going to talk about how they're formed, and lastly, we're going to get into some examples. So what are C clauses? So C clauses are basically just conditional sentences, and you don't always have to use the conditional tense. So a conditional sentence is simply just an if-then statement, meaning that one condition, the first part of the sentence, needs to be met for the second part of the sentence to happen. And so the translation of if is si in French. And then another thing to know is that there's no equivalent word to then in French. So now we're going to kind of talk about how to write C clauses very quickly. So you're going to start off with C, of course, and then you're going to have your subject, your conjugated verb, a comma, and then a subject, a different subject, and then another conjugated verb. And so this is just the skeleton of this C clause. You can have a lot of other things like adjectives, adverbs, things like that. And then another thing to keep in mind is that the second verb can only be conjugated using the following tenses, or else this clause would just not make any sense. So there's one of four ways. So you have the present tense, you have the passé composé, you have the imparfait, and finally you have the plusquamparfait. So now we can get into talking about some examples, starting with the present tense right up here. So we have si j'ai soif, je bois de l'eau. So if I'm thirsty, I will drink water. And I just added the word then in here just to kind of show you the if-then statement, but this is not included in the translation up here, as you can see. So the same thing kind of happens with the passé composé. You have si j'ai bien compris, elle a changé d'avis. So if I understood correctly, then she changed her mind. And the passé composé is used over here in the second part of the sentence. The third example is using the imparfait. So si j'étais riche, je m'achèterais une voiture. So if I was rich, then I would buy myself a car. And you can see the imparfait is used over here in the second part of the sentence. And lastly, you have the plusquamparfait. So s'il avait eu le temps, il t'aurait aidé. So if he had the time, then he would have helped you. So that's pretty much it. We kind of talked about what C clauses are, we talked about how to form them, and finally we talked about some examples.